Rich and Ben, the Sober Men, the podcast, episode 12. Ben, you're looking beautiful as always. How are you, mate?
Rich, I am super duper. I've had a very good week. Not sure if I've ever let on about my Percy Thrower-esque tendencies, a little bit of the old gardening, but yeah, and Rita as well, actually, for her birthday last year, I bought her a waist level kind of little herb gardening bed, which she loves.
Right.
You know, that's her little go-to just to switch off and unwind. And on Sunday, we were trying to reroute, I think it was a rosemary little plant thing that I use if I'm doing a bit of spag bol. I'm no Rick Stein or Gordon Ramsay, but it's nice to chuck in a few homegrown herbs in one's supper. And I don't know what had happened to this rosemary. Talk about roots of Goliath. I just couldn't. Neither of us could get it out. Literally, I got the trowel and I was trying to dig. I was like giving my it was like just wasn't budging at all. So of course we ended up in fits of laughter, soil everywhere. But
Sweating.
we did it, and it's now honestly all sorts going on. And it's now safely rehomed in the front garden. In fact, I don't know why it moved in the first place, but anyway, it had to move, and it moved just about. But it really made me laugh that, you know, that was Sunday afternoon, which is lovely. Like something about getting your hands in the soil, and it is just lovely. I was just sat there kind of watching her really for most of the time, just with a nice cup of tea. But the contrast to when I would make up this stupid excuse that I was going down to the pub on a Sunday afternoon to watch a bit of footy, just to have 4 quick-fire pints and those smokes. And I just thought, God, what a contrast. It's just, and it just made me smile. It made me laugh because I couldn't move the bloody rosemary. But just the joy of just doing something fulfilling and relaxing, and just you could just switch off on a Sunday afternoon, as opposed to, I remember waking up on a Sunday, hungover, feeling rancid. My first thought was, oh, what time can I get to the pub for?
Yeah, hair of the dog.
What time will it be sort of acceptable if I'm just like, oh yeah, I've got the paper, I'm just going to saunter down, you know, just have, you know, a couple of drinks with the Sunday Times culture before, you know, I start cooking dinner. It's bullshit. Just going to get some quick fire pints in. So the contrast of that and my Percy Thrower, I was like Edward Scissorhands, Rich. With the rosemary plant. So that was great. We got that moved, and it was just lovely. And just that, again, that recognition of life is so different, and I'm genuinely so much happier about it. And also, as listeners will know, now I do you know, a little side hustle delivery job as well. And weirdly, since mentioning my throwing prowess in last week's episode of the pissed watermelon throwing over the River Liffey in the Dublin, so it is, literally every order I've had this week has included a melon, like a watermelon. Like, is that the alcohol-free God saying, Ben, you made the right call? So be it rosemary plants being moved, watermelons coming back to just remind me that I've made a bloody good life choice. It's been a good week. And just to finish with, really quickly, Rich, we mentioned it on I think about 2 or 3 episodes ago, just, you know, when you're feeling a bit isolated in sobriety, maybe just saying hello to somebody can change your day and their day.
Yeah, of course.
The number of customers, especially older customers I've had this week, who've said, oh, it's so nice just to say hello to somebody. And I just give them 2 lines of, oh, how's your day? You know, oh, that looks nice. Enjoy that. Enjoy your dinner. So don't forget that just a little convo with anybody can really put a little spring in their step, and, you know, make them feel good, even for a few moments. So it's been a lovely week, Rich. How about you? You look super rested the white. Look at that.
Yes.
I thought I was chatting to Ronan Keating then for a minute in that ice white shirt. Looking good.
I was saying to you earlier on, isn't it? I'm running out of outfits to wear on the pod. I'm going to start recycling stuff soon.
Yeah, I think I wore this one on episode 2. I thought that's 10 episodes ago. It's all right.
Here we go again. Yeah, mate, I'm good. I'm really good. I was just thinking about when you were talking about your waist height, like flat compost bed. I was thinking if it's waist height for Rita, that's it must be. You're 6'6". It must be. Was it knee height for you? Is it? You still have to bend down and get the rosemary out.
Literally, I'm so glad I kept my shin pads from the mid-80s.
Yeah.
Honestly, gardening with shin pads, it's the future.
Very good. You know, you were just talking about throwing watermelon over the Liffey in Dublin, we actually had a message in for someone from someone.
Oh God,
that is a Dubliner, and I'm going to read it out to you now.
Okay.
So it said, this is from after last week's episode. It said, "Another great pod, guys. So many laughs in this one. But Ben, that Dublin accent, laughy face."
Oh God.
As a dub myself, I'm not sure, pal. I don't think you would have got a part in Love Hate. Another laughy face. But well done on episode 11 down and getting better. And that is from Andrew Reddy. So thank you, Andrew.
Thank you, Andrew.
If Ben wants some more tips and sort of vocal lessons on his Dublin accent, he knows where to come. But that was from Andrew. So thanks, mate. And of course, as we always say, we're getting lots of lovely emails and messages. So keep them coming at the sobermenpod@gmail.com, and also find us on TikTok and Instagram at the Sobermen Pod. But yes, mate, I am having I'm obviously on a little bit of a holiday now after my contract's finished. So it's lovely. And we talk about the little things, don't we?
Yeah.
Now, I will say this. When I was drinking and using and stuff, I was in the toilet every 10 minutes. Every 10 minutes, then you get back into bed and you go, I need to go again. I do that from time to time now, but that's just because of middle age, right? So I said to Jem, I'm so sick because we've got our bathroom, when we turn the light on, the extractor fan comes on and it's so loud and it lasts for ages. So when you get back into bed, you can just hear this for ages. And I said, we need to get something like some little lights or something that we can use and not turn the light on. This week, mate, we've bought it's the most simple thing, and they're wonderful. And at night time, we just keep walking past them because they're sensor lights, and we put them just above the skirting boards, and they're quite contemporary. They look quite trendy.
Oh, cool!
And we've put them all along our hallway. One in the bedroom, so when you get out of bed, it immediately comes on, just lights up the floor a little bit. And then we've got 3 in the bathroom. So I'm waking up at like 2 or 4 a.m. to go to the loo, and I'm like, oh, it's not just a good excuse to go to the loo, it's a good excuse to have a little look at the sensor lights in the middle of the night as well. So, but it's true. It's
they
the same.
Sound great,
mate. They're wonderful. Not even that expensive, but they look. Listen, everything's about lighting, isn't it? It's so good. Lighting literally can make an environment so wonderful. And so it's like the lovely little lights along the hallway, and then it's but as you said, it's those simple little things that you can enjoy, and jobs that you'll get done. Because we've been saying it for ages. Oh, we need to get some light. And I thought, well, I'm just going to do it. And we ordered them. They came. What we did, we ordered a few just to check them out. They were great, so we ordered some more, and they arrived the next day. So it was like, we've lit the hallway now, lit the bathroom. So that's if I say that's as exciting as it gets this week, that means to say that things are boring. They're not. It's nice. I feel peaceful. I feel at home. I'm obviously, as I said last week, back in my own house, and it's wonderful. Got the little sensor lights, and mate, all is good. Yeah, can't complain. And it's just nice. Coming up on 5.5 years sober soon.
Gosh,
which
that's gone quickly, hasn't it? Since 5 years.
Yeah, it goes so quick. And then I've been chatting to a couple of people that are early days in recently. A week, 2 weeks, and I'm like, just keep going, stick at it. Honestly, like, I'm here for support and advice and suggestion. And even after like a week, 2 weeks, people, these people, they were saying, I'm starting to feel the benefits. The fog is clearing, the brain fog, feeling healthier, a bit more productive in the daytime. And they're aware that it's a day at a time, and anything can happen. But it's just wonderful to see the beginnings of someone's journey and going, you've got such a beautiful journey, without sounding too cheesy. It's a great journey ahead of you, and you're going to get some much better positive experiences that you can witness and be part of than you would have done if had you still been drinking. So that's that's been my week, really.
And do you find, I get this, Rich, that when I see the glow from people who just start on their sobriety journey, it refuels mine, if that makes sense. 'Cause I'm so excited for people knowing how good they're going to start feeling and how better their life is going to be, and just the calm they're going to be like gliding into in their lives. It's just great, and it's another boost for me almost. Just like, God, I'm so proud of myself and that I made that decision as well.
I agree, and that's what we say in the program as well. Is that helping someone else in turn helps you, because it reminds you, it regrounds you, it roots you, and it makes you understand that helping someone else can continue to keep you present and know that you still got work to do as well. So yeah, mate, it's a good week. It's a calm week. Not much is going on. I've been watching a little bit of the playoffs, the football, and yeah, I do enjoy that. I get sad when the football season ends, because I do like my sport, but then of course we've got the World Cup. But then I was checking out the times of the World Cup, and something like 3 a.m., 2 a.m. And I'm like, well, back in my drinking and using days, that'd have been amazing, because I'd have been wide awake at that time.
No, Rich, hang on, 3 a.m. perfect. So your 3 a.m. old man's piss.
That's
You've
it.
got the fancy contemporary lights on there, and the football. It's the hat trick of wins for you. Yeah,
absolutely. Listen, there's so many benefits to sobriety. Ben, as we always say, we have a little feature on the podcast when we're in the studio, and we will be back in the studio very, very soon with our wonderful producer, Azim. But we have a little picture frame on the table, and in that picture frame every week we have someone that we admire their sobriety journeys, or someone that's inspired us in our journey, and someone that we like to tell the story of. And obviously we're digital, we're remote recording at the moment, but if you're watching on YouTube, you'll be able to see this person in the little frame in the screen. If not, Ben, you're going to tell us who it is, who is in the frame this week.
This week we have ex-footballer Stephen Caulker. If you're football fans, you would have heard of him. Ex-Spurs, he had some time at QPR as well, Liverpool. He had big gambling issues, which then led to alcohol. And again, it was amplified by a series of injuries, and the mental stress of having an injury in elite sport was just really overwhelming, overbearing. And also, with that injury brings lack of structure as well, which I find really interesting, and the lack of routine, the lack of discipline, which I know we're going to be chatting about later. So he really struggled. He was getting to the stage where he was getting blackout drunk at weekends, Rich, literally waking up on a Monday morning and could only remember as far as Saturday night after the game, going out after a game, friends texting him saying, having seen stuff in the press, oh my God, did you really do that? And him waking up with the horror of that feeling of, oh God, did I? And literally trawling through CCTV footage of what he'd been up to with his lawyer, trying to smooth things over, really. But what I like about it as well, and again, with all these people in the public eye, he kind of went public about it, a bit like Paul Merson, who he chatted about it. He went public with his issues, which I think in the sporting world is very brave. And interestingly, he said a consequence of that, yes, the good sides of helping people, and in turn, as you've just said, Rich, helping himself. He found that quite a few clubs who would be in for him at various stages of career it would be a bit of a bugbear for them. It would, he may have lost out on a few contracts because of his issues. So I really commend that in anybody, but in elite sports, to be that brave, that open, takes a hell of a lot of courage. So I really admire him for that. And he got there. He now works in Turkey. He coaches in Turkey, and that way of life there really suits him at this stage in his life, because he's away from the media attention. He's away from the temptations of the past. What really struck me as well, he said that when he was at the top of his powers in the Premier League, playing for these top sides, he was only playing to 40% of his ability.
Wow.
Because he was just anchored by the heaviness of the gambling problem, the drink problem, and the mental stress that all brought as well. So how great that, like Paul Merson, like Tony Adams as well, he is just really open about it, which must be helping him and certainly helping others.
And I find it really interesting as well, because I watched something about gambling addiction as well, and how often a lot of people say out of all the addictions you can have, that is quite possibly the worst one. And the reason was that was said was that if you're taking drugs, or if you're drinking, eventually people can physically see that in you. They can see there's something wrong with you, your eyes, your skin, your moods, all that kind of stuff. But someone could go and bet, especially nowadays online, you go and bet your house, all your life savings, and in 10 seconds it's gone. But there's no change in, like, you look the same. It's 10 seconds and it's a month. Then you could go into work and no one's going to know. It's not like you've been up all night drinking, using drugs, and you come in looking absolutely, horrific the next day. That could have just happened 10 minutes before you or like for him, got on the training pitch, or you turned up at the office or whatever, and you're like, everything is falling apart in those 10 seconds. And that's why a lot of people often say that gambling is the, could quite possibly be one of the worst addictions. Not that there are any, any good addictions that are destructive to you. And that ties into what you said about it's brave to say this is what I struggled with, and especially at that level, and only operating at 40%. I mean, and he was still a great player at 40%. And it's it's a shame, isn't it, when you see missed potential in someone, or someone that could really excel and that you could support and celebrate, and then it comes out later, this is what I was struggling with, and it makes me sad, and it's a shame. But I mean, obviously he still had a great career, but kudos to him for coming out and speaking publicly about it, because that can help other people in the same situation, can't it? So,
and it's that balance as well, almost like what is success, in that yes, he's had an amazing football career, but he might say the most successful thing he's done is finding his sobriety. I look back at my career, I've had some big ups and downs. I've achieved a lot when I think about it, but my calm, my kind of personal success, I think, is my sobriety. That's the thing that I feel most proud of. And it's very hard to gauge, isn't it, that so many people who struggle with addiction, that maybe their big success isn't what they might have achieved in their career. It's finding the peace and calm of sobriety. It's a real core of conversation, isn't it? Sobriety. It is ongoing and continues to be so fascinating. So in the frame this week, Rich, Stephen Caulker.
Let's talk about our the theme of our episode this week, Ben. So we thought, didn't we, when we were talking, that a good theme for a discussion is discipline and motivation in sobriety and in life. And I'm just going to say this one sentence to you, and then we'll discuss it. So, would you agree that motivation is what gets you started, and discipline is what keeps you going? What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think it's a great phrase, Rich. The motivation comes from the exhaustion of feeling crap, I would say. The exhaustion of just knowing I've had enough. For me, it was over 2 or 3 years. I could see your life improve, Rich, from afar, and the catalyst for my hair transplant, that was all I needed. It was, if only I'd had the strength to admit it before something extraneous forced me to stop drinking for those 4 weeks. I didn't have that motivation. I didn't have that. My whole life was so sluggish and lethargic, Rich. Towards the end of my drinking days, just doing the bare minimum to get by in whatever job I was doing. I was always quashing ideas in my head that I might have. Like the sober me, I'd be like, oh God, maybe I'll give that a go. Then, of course, the hungover me, the drinking me, it's like, oh no, there was no future. There was no hope in my life. There was no spark in me. So that motivation only came when I did stop drinking. That motivation to make my life better, to make myself happier, which in turn would make my loved ones and, my family happier as well. And when you do get that motivation, that's when, let's call him Derek Discipline, rocks up into town. It's like, I'm going to hold on to this discipline because actually it's anchoring my sobriety. It's making me feel good. The daily structure that I have, that morning coffee, my morning walk, and getting stuff done, not putting things off, not just delaying stuff that has to be done, because then I find that I'm freer, that I'm able to take on more, that I'm able to be, more creative, more present for myself and for my family and for my career as well. But the discipline, it's really reared itself actually at the moment. Like, I'm getting up when I do early mornings, Rich. I'm setting the alarm for 4:15 in the morning.
Yep.
So I have to have the discipline to be in bed by 9 o'clock. Otherwise, I'm knackered the next day. I can't do the job. I'm just like, I'm like a sober grey Ben as opposed to a pissed grey Ben. I'm just like, oh, no good to anybody really. I'm just too tired. But through that discipline, it's like a full circle almost, because I've got the discipline of sobriety, which came from the motivation to get sober finally. Then that motivates me even more. So it's they're kind of a little bit interlinked, I think. But the discipline is wonderful. The routine, I do like routine, but I think that's allowed to be free, I think, in one's life. But the discipline to think about a routine, to want to keep a routine, then it can just really anchor your life, I think, and your soul, and makes you even more motivated to crack on.
Yeah. Well, it's sobriety. It exposes your excuses, doesn't it? So you're like, I'll do that Monday. Oh, I'll do this. And then you just never get around to it. So there's nowhere to hide at that point. And it's interesting because I think motivation comes and goes, doesn't it? But discipline is kind of what keeps you going despite your mood, whether it's gym, parenting, early mornings, replying to a message, that kind of thing. Like sort of motivation is emotional and discipline is sort of behavioral, isn't it? And it's an interesting one because I think I still have to check myself now when it comes to be motivated, because once I found the motivation, I find the discipline side of it quite easy, because I'm a little bit OCD with things. So once I've got a plan and a framework, I'm like, that's why the program works so well for me, because I've got a plan and a framework and I can work to that. But getting motivated, I always wait, and I say this to Jem, my wife Jem. I always say I'm waiting for that switch moment. There's something, and I wouldn't necessarily advertise that that's the best thing to do. Just wait and sit, right? Because we all have to sometimes just roll our sleeves up and just get on with it. But generally, there's a moment where I go, right, that's it, I'm done, and I'm in it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So which is not necessarily how motivation works for everyone, but I think that waking up and having a clear head, that motivates me to be disciplined for the day. Does that make sense? Because
completely.
Because if you don't motivate yourself sort of first thing in the morning, and listen, we all have a lazy morning, but I think that being motivated could also be, do you know what? I'm not just going to lie in bed snoozing until 11 or half 11. I'm going to have a lazy morning, but okay, it's 9 o'clock now. I've had a bit of a lie in. I'm going to get up, make a tea, and put the radio on, and I'm going to drink my tea, and I'm going to maybe read the paper or whatever for half an hour. That it could be as simple as that. Like, get yourself into that routine of doing that, and then the discipline side of it, I think, comes in when that's become routine and you're seeing the benefits and you want to keep going. Because I think of myself as lucky in one respect and really unlucky in another, because I always managed to just kind of get through, right? Without putting enough effort into anything. And I'll be like, I'll scrape through, or then I'll be like, I don't know what I'm going to do because the contract's finished, and then the next contract hadn't presented itself yet. Right? And then suddenly I get phoned to be like, do you want to do a gig on Saturday night? I'll be like, oh yeah, fine, that's fine. So what's happening is those little tiny things would happen that would almost just keep me, just treading water, just enough to get by. But the problem is, there was never that moment where I'm like, I've got to find this. I've got to dig in myself. I've got to do this myself, until I got to a point where I thought, my life is falling apart. I need to find a way to stop this, which was getting sober. But
I think as well, it gives your life, that discipline gives you a uniformity in your life, which is so comforting for. When I think of the chaos of my drinking days, the helter-skelter of my emotions, and I crave routine.
Yeah.
From the outset, I had routine. I had a job. I was, living and surviving, but in my head, my everything was so all over the place, Rich, that nothing was ever solid. Nothing was ever cemented. And I think the uniformity that discipline has brought me in sobriety has really helped me. And I think I'm quite similar to you in that I will probably leave stuff a bit too late in the day to conquer,
Yeah.
but then once I decide to, that's it. And it happens. And the difference is, because I'm sober now, it does happen.
Yeah, it
Like,
does.
be it work, be it, life plans, or, connecting to people. If I said I'll call somebody for a catch up in the past, it would have been, oh, I'll get around to it, and probably, would end up on the back burner. So many things have changed, but that it is that uniformity that to my life that the discipline has brought is great. Like, I wouldn't be coping. There's no way I could be in this position I am at the moment, Rich, if I was still drinking. The discipline I have, one to have, found the job, one to say, yeah, I can be at work at 6. And weirdly, like with the morning shift like I did today, that discipline has given me so much joy. Because I'm up, I'm out in the sunshine, I'm earning money, I'm moving, my body's moving, I'm interacting with customers. And it's so rewarding that come 2:00, we're recording in the afternoon, I've got the whole day ahead of me.
Yeah.
And that's a discipline and a motivation as well. And the motivation is to stay busy, to keep happy. I wouldn't have had any of that if I was drinking.
Yeah.
It just wouldn't have happened. So, that discipline through being sober is massive for me. And actually, from somebody who's been in the creative world for all his life, it's really comforting to know actually what you're going to be doing from week to week, and have a structure in place for your day. Do you find that?
I do find that structure is very important for me. Otherwise, I do have a tendency to be, I could be lazy, I can procrastinate. And I think, so that being said, so that would be what we think discipline and motivation are. So the question that I pose then is, how do we find that elusive motivation and discipline in sobriety? Because there may be someone listening that goes, I need to do this, but I can't find, how do I motivate myself? Where do I start? What do I do? How do I get myself into this disciplined frame of mind and motivate myself to get there? What do we have to do? Do we dig in? As I said, do you wait for a sign?
Yeah.
Do we just start it? Do we have to wait to be ready? How do you think we start to motivate ourselves? Because I think I've said this, and I've said this a couple of times in previous episodes. When I got sober, I was ready. I went to the meeting, and then after 20 minutes, it was listening to other people talk and what they had and where they were that motivated me to start my journey. Do you know what I mean? So how do we, because someone might be listening going, how do I do this? How do I get there? What do I need to do? What suggestions or advice? I mean, if, as we always say, we're not here to tell you what to do, but to suggest what might work and what worked for us.
Firstly, if you've just become sober or starting on your sobriety, your sober life, like, congratulations, like, you've to found that the motivation to embark on that is massive.
Yeah.
And that's like a huge start in finding the discipline, in finding what works for you. And also, I would say that, people when you become sober, you just haven't got all the time in the world to deal with it, to get used to this sober life. Like, one still has to work. Life doesn't stop because, one has made a decision to become sober. So it's maybe, if you need a bit of support at work to give you motivation, to maybe just share with one or two colleagues, just say, oh, I'm doing this, I'm feeling good. And even a little word of encouragement from one or two colleagues each day, or even one a week. I imagine, the creative world, we're very open, aren't we? We enthuse about people's successes, but I can imagine in office life, it might not be that open. But if you can find somebody you can trust just to say, oh, I'm doing this, I feel really proud of myself, and, be proud yourself that you've made the decision to become sober.
That's motivation in itself, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. Just little words of encouragement just to motivate you would be fantastic. And then again, if you can, it's breaking that routine, isn't it? Of probably you were used to working all day and going home and drinking alcohol, taking whatever at weekends. If you can break that routine just through finding something to do, I'd call it Ben's bar hour about 6 o'clock, just something to push you through to the evening shift. Like, just if you can, find the motivation before it leads to discipline to say, right, I'm going to have half an hour with my book. I'm going to just maybe write something for half an hour. Just find something, go for a little walk, something just that swells, that covers that period of, God, I'd usually be having a beer now.
Yeah.
And then you get the kick of, oh my God, I've done it. I'm in bed. I feel great. And you've got the motivation again tomorrow, and that will bring you discipline. But it is very difficult, isn't it? Because people in all sorts of walks of life, aren't they, Rich, are embarking on sobriety. But you can't underestimate the importance of your sleep in your sobriety. I think when you start to feel like your battery is being recharged, probably took me about 2 or 3 weeks, Rich, I'd say, before I realised that, my God, I haven't felt like this in years. I feel rested. I feel rested to actually go and do my job properly, not just coast through my week. I feel rested. I feel motivated to be better at my job. I feel motivated to make plans with my friends at weekends
and keep
to
them.
make 100%, Rich. So it's knowing that when you become sober, you're going to feel really recharged. And if you can find something to harness almost that excitement, because it is exciting, if you can find something to harness that excitement where previously you'd be going to the pub or cracking open a beer at home after work, if you can find something to get through that maybe 6 to 8 o'clock period, then you're away. That's a big battle won, I'd say.
I agree. And I think you said it yourself there, like people at work, like, people that you can trust. All it takes is for one person to go, you look fresh today, or you've got a lot of energy today, and that gives you that little spark of motivation, because then that keeps you going. And then once you've done that, you get like to a week, 2 weeks, whatever, and then the discipline kicks in, because you're like, well, I've come this far. I've not come this far just to come this far. You want to keep going, and then it perpetuates, and it's a circle of positivity rather than that circle of negativity and negative headspace where we all were, before. And you'll start feeling the benefits of that as well. That emotional resilience, finding routine, positive routine, regular achievable tasks, those kind of things that keep your mind feeling that you're in a positive, enlightened headspace, that you can see the world better, and you can see yourself better, and you're able to put those into practice to keep going. And it's you said about sleep, mate, I agree. Sleep and water and sleep. It's huge. Like, I didn't used
to
drink.
Fuel from the gods, isn't it? Both of those.
It really is. Like drinking. I mean, I was drinking easily before I got sober, easily a bottle of wine a day and a couple of beers, easily, and sometimes more, regularly more. Once that stopped, and I was literally just hammering the water, 2 to 3 liters a day, flushing myself out. And someone said to me, your eyes are so white. Wow, the whites of your eyes. And I'm like, it's because of the water. Good sleep and water. And it's amazing, those tiny little moments of someone just saying to you, look at you, look at that. And it makes you go, and you feel good about yourself. We all want to feel good about ourselves. We're human beings. It's nice when someone gives us like a positive comment. We all thrive on that, right? And I think it's nice that that's recognized in someone else. And of course it starts with you, and you're doing it yourself. But if it gets recognized by another human being, and they say you're doing well, and whatever you're doing, keep doing it, that keeps you motivated to keep going. And it's wonderful. And it is, early doors, it can be hard, even though if you need to make that change. But that moment of that little spark, that bit of motivation that gets you off the starting blocks and gets you on that track and keeps you going, that's massive. And I would say whatever that takes, whatever you need, whether it's you know, a video, a motivational video, maybe it's a meditation or something that you do that makes you go, I'm ready. I'm going to do this. I'm going to keep going. And the more you do it, and with the more regularity that you do it, that's when the discipline kicks in, because discipline, it equals self-respect, doesn't it? It proves that you can rely on yourself, and sort of every little small act that you do, it was kind of reminds your brain, yes, I'm worth something. I matter, and that, you know, that really helps you keep yourself in a positive headspace. So you're not, as we've done before, hating on yourself, berating yourself, telling yourself you're useless. It just makes you walk a little bit taller, and it doesn't matter, you know. You could be overweight or you could be underweight, whatever that is, doesn't matter what you look like. It's about how you feel, isn't it? And I know that is a very cliched thing to say, but if you feel good on the inside and you're good mentally and you feel positive and you've got motivation to move your life in the right direction, that gives you so much self-respect, would you say?
Self-respect, massively. The self-worth, Rich, that I felt when I realized that I was making a change, that I was setting myself. You said it there, Rich. Realistic goals, realistic targets.
Yeah.
Those little targets, like even now, mine are ridiculous, but I'm going to share with them. Without fail, I take the bins out on a Wednesday night, even if I'm back late from work rather. The bins will be out on a Wednesday night without fail. In the past, I'll do it in the morning when I've been hungover, like sludging them to the end of the drive, like getting in the car, you know, on the way to work. Oh God, or just like, oh fuck it, you know, I can. If there's too much, I'll just go to the dump on Sunday, or oh sod it, you know, that we'll worry about it next week. It's fine. It'll be fine, darling. It'll be fine.
Yeah.
What? Why wait?
Yeah.
Don't put things off. The bins will be out. I pick up the dog shit, and for me, that's one of my achievable tasks. I'm not joking, because it's like in
you don't
my
want
head,
to do it, but you do. Yeah.
It's kind of like, but it's like a tick that I've done it. It's done for the week. I can move on. That's done. And it's all these little things that I would put off. You know, if there's stuff like, this is stupid. If it gets to 4:00 and I've got a card to put. I mean, I sound like blooming Charles Dickens. Who posts the birthday cards these days? Well, I do, folks. You know, even though it's stupid, but even if it gets to 4:00 and I've got something to post, in the past I'd be like, oh, sod it, I'll do it tomorrow if they get it. But I'm like, no, I am on a mission to get to the post box before 5:00.
Yeah.
And it might sound crazy, it might be crazy, but for me, those little things that I've added to my life give me so much self-worth that they make me feel proud that they're just another little latches onto that I'm now in control of my life, and it's me pulling the strings, it's me getting things done, and not the alcohol in charge. You know, so never be put off by anybody. If you do something that makes you happy and it makes you feel good when you're in sobriety, when you're embarking on sobriety, have the courage to stick to it, because it's nobody else's place to tell you what you should or shouldn't be doing. As you say, Rich, if it works for you, then how great is that? Almost like sod everybody else if it's working for you and makes you happy. And also, don't forget that it is nice when somebody says, "Oh, you're looking good. Your eyes look whiter," and don't be bloody British. Don't be like, "Oh, thanks very much." You know, just say, "Oh, thank you." Yeah, it's, you know, I've stopped drinking. I'm really proud of myself, and
own it.
A lot of people will be quite jealous, and that makes you feel good as well. That gives you motivation, because you're like, "Yeah, this is me. I've done this.
Yeah,
you know, this is my skin's better because I have made the decision to stop drinking, to stop taking." And also, don't forget as well, if you feel like, you know, somebody is looking good or wearing something nice or whatever, just say, "Oh, you know, you're looking," you know, just to a colleague, to anybody, because it's like, why not? Why can't you?
Yeah.
Let's buoy people up. And in sobriety, when you start getting these little little comments from people and like, you're looking good, just embrace it, because they're lovely little nuggets to hold on to, and to keep you pushing into the next day, into the next week, into the next month, and you'll keep looking great. And I remember, I love my exercise, Rich. I've got dodgy knees now, of course, so I do a lot of walking as opposed to running. But even the difference of exercising now, Rich, knowing that it's doing me so much good and almost setting my day up, giving me a platform for the day, as opposed to just sweating out the booze. I was just doing it. I was doing it when I was drinking just to tick a box. I remember that awful feeling of like the alcohol-fused blood fizzing around my body whilst sweating, whilst being knackered from a semi-decent 5K. And just doing it because I was trying to convince myself I didn't have a problem, or that I was healthy. When actually now, when you are exercising, you're doing actual real good, but you're really clearing the head. You've got the endorphins going, and you're clear to push that motivation of your sobriety even further.
And you've just said it there. So you started off by saying like the little things like picking up the dog shit or like just taking the bins out. And then that's naturally, even you talking about it, has morphed into doing a run, going outside.
Yeah.
So it would be fair to say that it's the little tiny things that motivate you that then manifest and morph into the bigger things. And then, of course, the biggest thing, our journey is the sobriety journey. So all those little tiny things, it's like a jigsaw puzzle. It makes up the full picture, doesn't it? And it's interesting because I think like that, if we see on social media, we talked about this on the last episode, you know, we talk about sort of social media. And of course, a lot of social media is trying to sell you something, isn't it? You know, of course, there are amazing people you can follow and there are amazing information that you can ascertain. But a lot of it is selling you stuff. And I think a lot of social media can sort of sell us hustle, dopamine, rise and grind, all that kind of stuff. But the real growth and the motivation, the discipline is often, shall we say, could be quite boring. It could be quiet. It could be unseen because nobody puts like the boring days online, do they? It's consistency is what changes a life. Like, you know, you're not seeing someone like going, oh, this is me. Look at my house. Isn't it shit? You know, you're going, look at me. We've had a new extension or, do you know what I mean? It's all that kind of stuff. Like try again, take what you can from the online information and use it to kind of as the catalyst to get you started, but don't think, well, I haven't got what that person's got. I haven't got this. It doesn't matter about that. Everyone is on their own journey, and it doesn't matter because, you know, motivation can often arrive after action, can't it? Kind of, you put a little something in place, you act and you do something, and then that gives you the motivation to keep continuing.
Having the discipline, say, to go for a daily walk, can lead within it to motivation. On Sunday, I just went to the park for a walk, took Betty. We had a lovely walk, and I just, you know, there was a nice bench there. I just sat down, and the feeling of, it was complete calm, like not to have anything bad in my head. There was nothing negative in that moment in my head from having the motivation to become sober, which gave me the discipline in sobriety in my life. Part of that discipline is to go for my walk. Within that particular walk, I just had this moment of like, this is great. This is why I'm sober. This is why I do it. There's nothing negative in my head. I'm not anxious about the week ahead. It was a Sunday. I'm not anxious about my Monday. If anything, I'm super excited about starting a new week. I'm super excited about cooking my Sunday roast, the famous Harlow roast potatoes, a bum, bum, bum. It was such a lovely moment where it's just like, and of course, through the drinking days, there was always something saying, oh God, no, worry about this, worry about that. And of course, I still get anxiety about certain situations. But in that moment, I was so at peace. And, you know, and that motivated me even more. You know, I started thinking about plans for the pod during that moment. And so through discipline, your motivation, it can re-spark again. It's like never ending almost.
Yeah, no, I agree. And it's the key thing is there for me, listening to you say that, is that keep it simple. Keep it in a simple framework. Get outside, go for a walk. That's the job done. Task completed.
Yeah.
That's something that I've set myself that task. I'm motivated to do it, and I've gone out and I've done it. And you know what? The discipline is going to keep me doing that again the
Yeah.
next day. And there's so
I
many
don't
of
know
those
why
little.
I'm smiling because of all the heartache I've been through and the dark days I've been through because of alcohol.
Mm.
The joy. It was just I was sitting on a park bench. I'm 50. I probably looked a right odd bod, but I was just like I'm so happy, and it makes even thinking about it makes me smile.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy.
And it's something you wouldn't have thought at 22 or 25 or 35 that, do you know what? We say, what's the most exciting thing you could have done? Well, it would have been going out and have a few jars with your mate. You go, the most exciting thing I can do, I can just sit on a park bench and have my peace. And you
And
know what?
my ultimate motivation is to go for a walk, sit on a park bench made by you. That's it. Job done.
You know what?
Sobriety conquered.
It's so funny because last night, me and Jen were sitting on the sofa and I was watching the news. And this is one thing, quick sidebar here, is that she turned around to me and we were watching the news and she said, "Oh my God, I've just had a vision of what you're going to look like when you're 80, right? And the things you're going to say." And it's the reason why we change as we get older. Because I'm sitting there and we live in the centre of the country, right? In Oxfordshire. And it's not the South. We're South Midlands, if anything, right? But our local news on the BBC, when they go, "And let's go over to the newsrooms in your local area," and they go news, and it says South. It's from Southampton, so the majority of the news is Southampton, Winchester, Portsmouth, and I'm shouting at the TV going, "I don't fucking live in Southampton. I don't fucking live in Portsmouth. I don't care. I hope everyone's okay down there, but I don't care what's going on. What's happening in my local area?" And it really irritates me.
What is going on there?
Our
My
local
God.
news is South Today. I don't live in the fucking South. I don't care. So please, BBC, can you change it up? Because we used to be Central News. That used to be our local news. And now, and she just looked at me and she went, "Even when we met, I never would have thought I'd have heard you say stuff like that." And I thought, "Oh God, I'm getting old." But do you know what? I don't mind. The bottom line is, it's a bit of fun. And I would like to have more localized news. Yes,
But that
it's
is
true.
nuts. And
But-
like in all seriousness, that you live in Oxfordshire and you're getting news from the South Coast.
Yeah,
What's going
South
on there?
Today. It's South Coast, Bournemouth. And it was like, "Oh, let's have a look at the sea temperatures." I'm 2 hours from the fucking sea. I don't care about it. It doesn't literally have any bearing on my day-to-day life. So that was just
We'll have to go. We'll have to get a bucket and spade, Rich, and go for a
Yeah.
sober men day trip.
That's right. It just links into how we change over the years, and like obviously, like I've morphed into obviously being a heavy drinker and drug user into being complete sobriety and enjoying those little things. I've also morphed into from really just not caring about the news to screaming at the TV, telling everyone it's not from my local area. But listen, it's
dear.
I need to motivate myself to not shout at the TV and then stay disciplined and not to do it anymore. But I've got a question for you. Do you think so? I'll say that sort of discipline, it creates more peace, doesn't it? He says after just telling everyone he screamed at the TV. Less chaos, less anxiety, more confidence, all that kind of stuff. But what do you think's harder? Do you think that starting a sober journey or staying consistent to it? So having the motivation to start the journey or the discipline to stay consistent with it, or are they not mutually exclusive? What do you think?
I've personally found, because I struggled myself, the motivation to start my sober journey just
I agree.
so hard. I just couldn't find a way into it until I was forced to stop. I couldn't find. I didn't know who to talk to. I didn't know who to approach, because I knew I had a problem. I knew I was drinking too much. I knew I could, just completely wreck my life through alcohol.
Yeah.
And wreck any chance of a happy future for myself. And but where could I start? Where did I start? So I found the motivation to start my sober journey really, really, really difficult.
Mm.
And if I'm being really honest, the discipline to keep my sobriety, I actually find very easy.
Yeah.
Because, and maybe because I'm 50, I've lived, but I never want to feel that unhappy again.
Yeah.
I never want to feel those feelings of being outrageously hungover, full of anxiety, full of depression, wanting to kill myself.
Yeah.
I never want that again. So I find the discipline to stay sober actually really easy, and I don't think about the contrast that much anymore at all. Like I'm just I feel so happy. I feel very grateful for my sobriety, and just the way I feel now because of the discipline in my life, because of giving up drinking. That just makes me so happy. It's not an effort because it everything's just positive. Everything I'm doing in my life now is positive to make me happier, which I didn't have for so long. So I found the motivation to stop and to get started difficult, but as soon as I started to feel the benefits, as soon as people noticed a difference in me, but more importantly, the moment I could feel the difference in myself and my happiness returning, that the authentic real Ben returning, for me there was no turning back. And thank goodness that I had the motivation ultimately eventually to do something about it.
Yeah, I agree, mate. I agree with all of that, and it was the same for me.
Yeah.
Knowing that I needed to stop, and knowing that I was digging myself into a really, really dark hole, and then having.
But how great, Rich! We both had the intelligence. We both knew what we were doing to ourselves.
Yeah.
We both knew we were a million miles away from the real people that we are.
Yeah, and then having that moment that motivates you to start, and then it's like a rolling snowball in a positive way.
Did you find it difficult once you became sober, Rich? Is that where the 12 steps like really helped you initially?
I work well with structure. I need a plan, but for most of my life, I've worked I want to work my own plan. I don't want to be told what to do. Do you know what I mean? But with this situation, to have this framework to work towards, I'm quite an organized person. I mean, even in the chaotic past, I would still right, before I call the dealer or before I open the wine, I'm going to clean the house and I'm going to make sure everything's set. Yeah. So I'm I was setting up my kind of the house for the night.
The juxtaposition's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, it's crazy because I'm like, that's ridiculous because once I start, I'm not going to, who cares what the house looks like? Do you know what I mean? So I've always been I've always been quite organized as a person. But once I got into the program and I got my sponsor and I had this framework to work with, like my plan, that worked really well for me. And it was once I needed to eradicate the sort of the phenomenon of craving. So I didn't crave a drug, I didn't crave a drink, and I had to work hard doing the things that were told to me to stop that. But once that started to dissipate and dilute, staying disciplined, I started physically and mentally feeling the benefits. And so that for me, the discipline for there was like you said, it was pretty straightforward because I knew at that point I don't want to go back there because this is how I want to feel, and I'd forgotten that you could feel like this. So that's what kept me motivated and disciplined to keep going. And I would say that to anyone that's listening, that's either, like we always say, sober curious or just starting your sober journey, or whether you are a year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years in, I think it's always important. You still need those little things to motivate you and keep you disciplined, because the minute you take your eye off the ball, we all know what can happen, So I think whatever it takes for you to find that little moment of spark that gets you going, is important. I would find, and I would say, Ben, tell me what you think about this, just as a closing thought, that you don't need to transform overnight. Like, the real change and the discipline and the motivation is tiny decisions repeated consistently. What do you reckon?
Yeah, I agree with that completely, Rich. You're not just going to snap into sobriety overnight. It is hard work, But if you put these small little things in place in your life, the tiny bit of routine, even if one bit of routine a day, like you said before, Rich, making your bed first thing in the morning within half an hour, those little routines, those little disciplines will help you massively. I really believe that. And, I think ultimately it's not a race. It's, with your sobriety, it's you play at your speed, and do it how you want to do it.
And its findings, we said earlier in the episode, that will give you the most self-respect you will ever find. And once you start respecting yourself and having self-respect, it will make you motivated to continue on your journey. I enjoyed that conversation. It's quite interesting, that one.
Yeah, I find it really interesting.
Yeah, because it's like, what's first, chicken or the egg kind of thing.
Yeah,
so I do find that interesting. But as always, when we talk for so long, it does make us thirsty. And we have another little feature on the podcast. So Ben, what is our drink of the week this week?
This week we have Days.
Ooh.
Which I have loved for a long time. So it's a 0% alcohol-free lager. They also do an amazing pale ale. Now, Days, it was formed in Scotland in 2020 by Mike Gamble and Duncan Keith. What I love about this, so I first had a Days, it was probably within my first 50 days of sobriety. I was in Wagamama's. I was working at the cricket at Old Trafford. Yep. Took myself off for the old chicken ramen style. And I thought, they do a zero beer, and I thought I'll give that a go. And I was properly like, this is lovely. It was tasty. It was fresh. What I love about Days as well, they also give a percentage of their profits to the Calm charity, which does so much good calm
for mental health.
Yeah, fantastic. So that's great. But it's just, what I love is when they launched it, they wanted people to enjoy the social side of a beer still, but without any effect on people's, exercise, on their, mental health, on their fitness. Just people who wanted a sociable drink, but not alcohol that's going to knock them back the next day.
Yes, of course.
It's crisp, it's cold, it's really fresh.
Yeah.
And it's completely alcohol-free, but the taste, it's just lovely. So give it a go. This is I get mine from Tesco, but you can also order online, actually. I've got quite a few at Christmas online, but you can buy a batch. So Days Lager, 0%, alcohol-free is this week's, look at that, woo-ha, drink of the week.
Fantastic, Ben. That was a great episode, and I enjoyed our Who's in the Frame this week as well. It's always nice to get people in sport involved in the podcast as well. And great chat about discipline and motivation. I've got to be disciplined and make sure that I keep cooking my omelettes every day. I've been cooking an omelette every day for me and Jem, mate. And today I got home and it was lunchtime. I'd just been for my haircut with my sister, and I came in and Jem wasn't here. And I'd been saying, this omelette pan is shit. It's got a wonky bottom. It won't sit on the cob. And then I'm like, hello, she's not in. And then literally the door goes about 5 minutes later. She goes, hi, babe. I said, where have you been? She went, I just went to get you this. And she'd been to Sainsbury's to buy me a new omelette pan. Bless her. It's because she wants to motivate me to keep making her omelettes every day.
Keep the discipline to make her an omelette every day.
Exactly.
How funny, we got a new saucepan is it like National Saucepan Week or something?
Mate, I don't know, it's National Middle Age Conversation Week, I'll tell you that.
Right, Rich, I'm off onto Amazon. I want to get some of those lights you've been talking about. They sound great.
Mate, enjoy yourself, and I'll see you on the next one.
Cheers, Rich.